Hello. I've been looking for the spice for videos recently, and let me tell you, it is getting a little bit harder to find the spicy stuff in Legacy these days. If you have a really cool idea, the donation deck lists are always open, and I would love to see your cool ideas on the channel. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video, and today I found a sweet list from Brazil that I wanted to showcase. This is a black-white humans list that looks like it came from a couple of years ago, honestly. For a handful of people in my Discord server that really enjoyed playing decks that looked like this one, uh, featuring some spicy cards that you might not know of, like Night Clubber. When it enters, creatures your opponents control get -1/-1 until the end of turn. And it technically has a blitz ability so that you can give it haste if you really need that ability right now and you want to swing for that 2 damage. This deck goes against current Legacy deck building heuristics. Current Legacy wants you to just play powerful cards that win the game on their own. And this deck is like, nah, man, I want synergy. We're going to have humans on humans on humans. And the more cards you play, the better your cards get. The existence of things like Orcish Bowmasters make playing a deck that is based around creatures that are base 1/1 power and toughness a little bit sketchy. And if you just look, a massive percentage of the cards in this deck are 1/1 creatures at their core. You do have ways to grow them and make them bigger, and they will get paid off for getting bigger, either by making their abilities better or by just making them a real combat nuisance. I don't have too much to say here as far as this deck goes. This is pretty straightforward. The deck building looks clean. The decision to put Swords to Plowshares in the sideboard and be maximally aggressive in game 1 is an interesting one. I'm not sure how I feel about that. We are going to have a lot of wiggle room in the sideboard for how we adjust here, and we'll just kind of see how it plays out. I was looking for some cool aggressive decks to record with, try to get the opponents dead, and this is what I came up with. If you need any cool human cards, or maybe some cool cards from the upcoming Final Fantasy set, consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. They're great. I have really enjoyed working with them. I have a big old pile of cards that I am going to be selling to them at MagicCon Vegas. Look for this purple banner. There will be really good deals beneath it. If you place an order online, promo code ThrabenU will save you 5% on your order, and if you visit them in person at MagicCon Vegas, you can pick up some of my tokens and stickers there. That being said, let's battle. I will absolutely be keeping this opening hand. It is good. There is a question of whether or not I actually play Aether Vial on turn 1, or whether or not I just play Mother of Runes immediately on turn 1. To just try to get this protection active as quickly as possible. I think I am going to lean towards Vial. There is an Elvish Reclaimer. Karakas will probably be good in this matchup. I think having drawn another 2-drop here, I am going to go for immediate Vial. I think I'm probably casting the Freebooter next turn. I don't care if my Wasteland gets Wastelanded. Do care about that. This is the incidental destruction of Vial. Hate it. I don't have Swords to Plowshares to just snipe that. This doesn't kill my opponent's stuff here either. Alright, let's pay a life for Freebooter. Okay. We'll take that Swords temporarily. Stage plus Depths plus Wasteland here is rough. I really hope that my opponent uses that Wasteland and I can just like do the Karakas thing. Yeah, I am taking that hit. 16. I'll activate the Vial. Put in a Mom. Oh, am I getting to keep this? I'm getting to keep this. Sick. So I don't really get to Wasteland my opponent's stuff because of active Elvish Reclaimer. I have Mom and a Flyer. I would like to cast multiple spells. I don't think I'm doing that. I think I'm trying to hide this Caracas and have my opponent activate this on their own turn. I think what I'm going to do is cast a Thalia's Lieutenant, trigger on the stack, activate Vial. Yes. Put in Dark Confidant, then trigger Thalia's Lieutenant while also putting a counter on Dark Confidant. Now I hide my Caracas for a little while longer, but end up losing Vial to this attack trigger by not playing out this bonus mom. Hopefully that ends up being fine. I expect my opponent to turn Savannah into Yavimaya here. No, they are getting rid of their Wasteland. It is Lush Portico. Getting rid of Windswept Heath. I have this onboard Wasteland. So if my opponent wants to make a 2020, like, they are incentivized to just do it now before I untap with this Wasteland. Alright, so goodbye Vial. And then I can just block and kill this. And I think I am fine doing so. Go pro green here. But my opponent is presumably just trying to end this game now. So there's the Dark Depths. There's my opponent. Stone raining themselves twice. Love that for me. We have perfectly baited our opponent here. Like, I intentionally miss my land drop to make this look like the optimal line when it is really just the worst line. And I can also wasteland them if I want to bring them down to a single land and then probably just eat them alive with the humans that are here. The general. Alright, Caracas. Kill you. Yeah, I know endurance is coming. Let's not let that fair body get into play. Silent clearing is a little rough. I'm not actually going to always yield to that. Send it, send it, send it. I'll just give that. Pro green now. Opponent is at 12, facing down a lot of damage. There's another land, but they are not getting to endurance immediately, and I don't think they can crack me back right now. Wasteland is a great pickup. I could blitz Nightclubber here reasonably. If my opponent has no interaction, I believe Kudro is just lethal. My opponent blocks one of these, takes 1, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, actually. Okay, let's see if I can make my opponent tap Elvish Reclaimer. Zero thoughts. It is an Echoing Deeps for a Lush Portico. 3, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Play Thalia lethal? Yeah. 2, 4, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Lethal. Boop! Yeah, successfully baited my opponent multiple times there. First by skipping Caracas, second by getting them to skip Elvish Reclaimer so that they end up taking more... Sorry, by tapping Elvish Reclaimer so they end up taking more damage. Good stuff. I would like those Swords to Plowshares for this matchup, unquestionably. What comes out? Nightclubber, probably not the best here. Swords is just better removal than that. Esper Sentinel, not the most exciting in the world versus my opponent who just wants to make land drops. Thalia, by similar logic, is not fantastic. It's like the Brutal Cathars and Swords to Plowshares, Wastelands, and Caracases that are good. I'm going to go down 2 Esper Sentinels. I don't know if Esper Sentinel is better than Thalia or not. Thalia has first strike, which matters versus some things like Elvish Reclaimer, and the Esper Sentinels don't get to attack into the 1-2 base body. This is a hand that is insane versus blue decks and not very good here. Like, I have lands and spells, but I don't have anything that interacts with my opponent in any way. I don't think this is actually a keep. Like, I don't have a flyer with Mom. I don't have any Lord. I can't punch through a 1-2 reasonably. I'm gonna ship that one. That just has no mana sources. This 5-card hand is insane. I don't think Thalia does a lot here. Esper Sentinel is kind of mid as well. We're going to try to play a threat, grow a threat, and wasteland our opponent into oblivion. That's what I don't want to see. Mox Diamond, yep. Junking Bojuka Bog. That I love. I believe it is correct for this to be Scrubland, and it's just bad if I get wastelanded. I am going to go ahead and just take this out now, hopefully. Crop rotation can do things. And indeed, it does things. So now my opponent gets to phase that out and save their creature. That's not what we want to see on the mulligan to 5. So now my opponent can work towards a combo finish, or otherwise just improve the quality of their lands. I think I have to hold up a wasteland here. The Yavimaya already being in play means that it's relatively easy for my opponent to reach a point where they just do the thing. Alright, they're gonna tap the Reclaimer, which means that I can wasteland them if I want. Let's see what they search up. It is a stage. Show me your second crop rotation. Nope. Swords, that's fine. Okay, the Dark Depths was in hand already. That's very good. I think we do the same thing as last game, where we tried to bait my opponent into making their 2020 and then punk them with Caracas. Small degree of risk here, but I think I just do the same line as before, where I intentionally tap out the Wasteland in a dangerous time. It is a Swords. My opponent has no cards remaining. But now they can turn Yavimaya into Thespian Stage. Oh, they're going to get rid of Dark Depths. Or a Wasteland. Sure. That is not the direction that I thought this game was going. Are you just going to start turning Elvish Reclaimer sideways now? Okay. I imagine that I beat my opponent turning that card sideways. It takes a little while, but this seems fine. That's fine. I'll be taking some damage here in the short term. That is not what I want to see. Try to get a castable card here. I did. I believe that I am more worried about Elvish Reclaimer than Outland Liberator, even if this does become a 3-3. A 3-3 smaller than a 3-4. The math is mathing. Flagstones is fine. I take some chip damage here. That's humorous. Alright, I will play that out. Attack for 1. There are some lines where I draw like a silent clearing, and I need to have the bonus mana in play. It just is really annoying if my opponent top decks Wasteland. I hope I don't die to this 3-3. That would be so embarrassing. Okay. Now we are on the right track. Trigger that. I guess I am attacking. 20. Echoing Deeps. That can be half of a combo? Can that be my graveyard? If so, it can be silent clearing. I wonder if my opponent was even supposed to play that land, or if you just hold that until you draw something else that could go with it. Oh, they're going for Caracas to bounce my Thalia. That's actually not fantastic, because that'll just grow my Champion of the Parish. Can't double cast these. I could Wasteland the Caracas. That's weird. I have a super happy trading champion with this. I'm not willing to trade both of these bodies. I think I'm going to hold back both bodies and hope that my opponent bounces Thalia pre-combat. No, they are casting a very large spell. That is a Green Sun. That gets some Knight of the Reliquary-sized dude. Yeah. Okay. I maybe can't take another chip hit from this. This might be the time where I just have to double block and hope that I draw an out to Knight. No, I'm gonna give it one last draw. Get a human. That is technically what I asked for. That's tragic. So I can Wasteland, Caracas, block, but then I think I end up just dying to this stuff. I am comfortable conceding here. That's an unfortunate loss. Thalia mediocre, Esper Sentinel would have been similarly mediocre. I could play Containment Priest. Kind of messes with my own vials, though. I think on the play, I'm going to make that swap. Well, this sure isn't ideal. I don't really know if it goes back. By the way, was there a Surveil land in this mana base? No. Everything is ETB untapped, which might actually be correct for this deck, honestly. 2-man. And we'll lead on our 1-drop. We've got Basic Forest. Mox Diamond. I would love a bonus card. Opponent says you can't have it because they are mean. Or good Magic players, whichever one you want to think of it as. Dark Depths goes bye-bye. Bob. Don't mind that. Opponent's at 19. I will fetch, and I think we roll off Kite Sail Freebooters prior to Dark Confidant. No non-creature, non-land card. How dare you? That means that the Esper Sentinel is not very good here. I would love to draw an out to the Knight of the Reliquary, because otherwise that just finds... That's not what I'm looking for. Dark Depths. I can block for a little while, but this is not ideal. I will drop Dark Confidant and Esper Sentinel. Rash in for 1 in the air. Opponent's got some options. They can sorcery speed float green with basic forest and then just do the Dark Depths thing immediately, or they can try to grind this game out on a longer time span, which is, I think, what they're supposed to do. All right, Dark Confidant, you need to do some work, bud. Basic Plains, that is not work. Kudro? Kudro's next turn. I think here I drop a Kite Sail Freebooter. Oh, we got a Green Sun. Nice. I will play another one. We're just doing this for the flying bodies. Doink. Opponent's at 17. The hope is that I can use Dark Confidant to do crimes, but I think my crimes are going to be stopped by these 3 active creatures. Although my opponent is out of forests/plains, while Elvish Reclaimer can just sacrifice a land. This specifically goes for forest and plains. So if my opponent gets Dark Depths here and does not top deck an appropriate forest or plains, I actually will have a window to just remove their shit. I have 3 flying blockers, but the Talon Gates of Madara Uchiha mean that that doesn't matter nearly as much. The jury would be even worse. It is a Yavimaya instead. So that is probably in respect of Knight of the Reliquary's ability, just like I was talking about. Now Bojuka Bog can be sacrificed to Knight of the Reliquary. So there's floating green with Bojuka Bog. Opponent now sacks the Bog. Gets the Depths. Now they copy. And they have 2 mana available for an Elvish Reclaimer activation to protect the Merit Lage. I'm going to get looks at a few cards. I get 2 cards per turn, and I can silent clearing beyond that if I need to. Oh shit, I like it. Really? Can I make this work in my favor? Sentinel, Sentinel, Freebooter, Freebooter. Lose 2 creatures. Give them back a Green Sun. I like this a lot better if I have that extra Freebooter back. I'm also thinking about whether or not they will just try to save this creature. They shouldn't, but they might. Maybe I am playing towards them trying to save this with this activation to make it easier for me to remove this. It'll still have a flying blocker. Yeah. Everybody but Bob. Bob is too important here. I might lose 2 Esper Sentinels, or I might lose Freebooter +1 Sentinel, giving my opponent a Green Sun. If they cast it for X equals 1, I draw a card. Okay, so they do get their Green Sun back. They do not cast it. All right, Bob. Here we go. Big turn for you, bud. Basic Plains, no. Champion of the Parish, also no. So I need to find interaction here. Fuck. So I am now dead. Just assuming that my opponent goes for it, which seems reasonable. I don't win from here. Oh, they're not going for it. Or I guess I could do it after they attack. Yeah, they're not going for it. Those fly. I get at least 2 more draws to find outs to this now. Come on, Bob. Wasteland. Wasteland is at least interesting. So let's play the general. This is going to grow my creatures. I can start chipping away at the lands in my opponent's graveyard as well. We'll start with that Thespian stage since there's 2 Dark Depths in there. Yield to that. Always yield to this. And pass the turn. Let's see if they go for it this turn. This is a destroy effect. Notably, this is not an exile. I cannot destroy the indestructible creature. That is Talon Gates from hand. They phase out my flyer. Yeah, now assuming they attack with Merit Lage, they've got it. That is a disappointing loss that we couldn't quite get over the edge for. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com. If you want to see upcoming sets, if you want to understand commander brackets, or if you just want an awesome place to store all, and I mean all, of your deck lists, Moxfield is the place. You can organize all of your decks by folders, and you can even change the views. You like visual, they've got that. You like text, they've got that. Check out my Moxfield Pro Field if you want to see all, and I mean all, of the decks that I've been cooking up. Alright, opponent says hello, they're a fan of the channel. We have a pretty good opening hand. I get to lead on 2 basic lands. I can play champion into champion or champion into Thalia, depending on how the game ends up progressing. I mean, against blue lands, I'm not going to, not play Cavern of Souls. I'm in. Even if I get wastelanded, I just lead on another champion of the parish next turn. And we'll see what my opponent is up to. Blue-white, maybe control, maybe Nadu. Ooh. Well, you see, I have this really cool creature that could answer this Phyrexian Dreadnought that my opponent's Torpor Orb just fucking shuts down. And this is when a human enters. Fuck. We just got so hard. Do I have any outs to this without ETV triggers? No. No, I do not. Alright, Banana. You win this round. Our hand was so good, too. Alright, we have some Cathar Commandos. That has an activated ability that can destroy Torpor Orb effects. I need these swords to Plowshares. Night Clubber probably isn't great. Thalias and Esper Sentinels are probably mid. Mother of Runes is useful for removal. The scariest creatures are probably going to be colorless. When it says suspicious, up to some secret jank I see. No, I was just fucking dead. Banana. You just killed me. Just 0 outs. Like, if that came down a little bit later, I could be working towards General Kudro, but with that coming down on turn 2, that's just not happening. I can't have Kudro and 2 mana available on my 3rd turn. Brutal Cathars are so much worse. So much worse. Like, do I just get rid of them? Wonder if I just get rid of them. I don't know, there might be other ways of getting the Dreadnought into play that aren't Torpor Orb effects, like Stifle effects. Let's do this. I'm not sure if Brutal Cathar is appropriate here. This is a great hand that I am not going to throw back in fear of just getting got. This Aether Vial is going to pop off really, really hard. You know, famous last words, apparently. Undra and Ponder. And a Shuffle. Sure. I unfortunately need this to be a scrubland, so there are timelines where I can get wastelanded. Then I just get to go champion into one of these other cards. And honestly, it might just be Esper Sentinel over Mom. The sooner the Esper Sentinel is in play, the better chance I have of just drawing a card. Yeah, knew those were coming. That's scary in a little while. Rip my Mom, I guess. I just need more mana sources here. Trigger this. And it is Punchy O'Clock. 13 with 6 power on board, but it's 6 power that has a decent chance of becoming worse quickly. Like, my opponent will have the various Torpor Orb creatures available in their deck. Who's getting swords? Bob is. Ooh, I get to draw a card. That's nice. So, I don't have another scrubland, meaning I think this is basic swamp. I'm going to attempt to stay aggressive here. If my opponent has a flash Torpor Orb creature, it comes in prior to this trigger. That is not the case. So here we go. We'll go to Punchies. I will send in for the full 6. If I lose Esper Sentinel, I lose Esper Sentinel. 7. 6 to a fetch end of turn. Dress down? It is dress down. So a Phyrexian Dreadnought that comes into play. I can just Cathar Commando out of play. And I can also just go wide of this, in theory, unless, like, multiple Dreadnoughts start coming down. Okay, yeah, that's multiple Dreadnoughts. Sure. Dress down goes away. Bob happens. Sure. Please don't force of will, I guess. Thar commando. Trigger. Attempt to remove. This can be stifled. A dress down. This draws me a card. I destroy that. I have lethal. So if my opponent has the dress down, can they do it in response to Cathar Commando stopping this trigger? That might give them another turn. So they have 2 blockers. They can go block, take 2. I'm not sure if that was actually good enough to do it. Are there any small adjustments I want to make? Like, do I want to go down Mother of Runes on the draw and just have 1 more Esper Sentinel, which sometimes has haste in terms of its activation? I could see that being a thing. I think I will, in fact, do that. There's some other fringe stuff I could do, like play Containment Priest specifically for Urza's Saga. Mom into eventual Brutal Cathar. It's okay. I think I am willing to accept okay that ignores counterspells. Brainstorm to Graveyard. Dark Confidant is a great follow-up here. Human. And we know Mom is going to resolve. We are definitely playing Magic, but I am scared. Opponent's got Ancient Tomb again. Clarion Conqueror. So I don't get activated abilities. Triggered abilities are fine. So my mom is significantly worse, obviously. But hopefully this just gets to stick around. If I lose my triggered abilities on this turn with a Torpor Orb effect, I will be sad. I could maybe still do some crimes with Adeline, though. Adeline notably is whenever you attack. It is not whenever Adeline attacks. So I could potentially play Adeline, crash in with a Dark Confidant or a Mom, and start creating a large body. That Clarion Conqueror does not profitably block. Don't do it. Banana. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Don't Torpor Orb now either, though. Okay, Swords is fine. So I guess the next question is, do I Brutal Cathar immediately? I don't think I do. I think I potentially will have more important targets. Now, sometimes my opponent plays a Torpor Orb effect and I miss out on the value of this. But I'm just going to make friends. Friends are good. Stock Up is in there too. This is sweet. Clarion Conqueror still getting feisty. I'm at 16. Is there another Swords? There is. And an Urza's Saga. I'm gonna die with this Brutal Cathar in hand. Yeah. Trigger. Drop a Caracas. Go to combat. And just send in for 4. Opponent is at 8. Then my goal is to remove Clarion Conqueror with Brutal Cathar and swing in for most of my opponent's life total. Like, I will be swinging for lethal amounts of damage, but my opponent can make a chump blocker. 4 mana. Oh no, it's Stock Up with 1 floating. This is an Esper Sentinel for 2. Imagine my opponent is not paying for. Violent Clearing. I mean, it's a redraw. A new Urza's Saga? You need something here. Preferably a something that has a Torpor Orb. A new Clarion Conqueror. Sure. That is 2 Brutal Cathars. I can't cast both immediately. I bring my opponent to 1 if I make an attack this turn, which is probably fine. I'm thinking about whether or not I want to draw with Silent Clearing. Hitting a Thalia's Lieutenant is pretty good. I think I will go ahead and draw. A Cathar Commando is interesting. I don't think I am doing that, though, as Clarion Conquerors. So take out a Clarion Conqueror. Oh wait, this is just lethal. I didn't count my 1 scaling up. Ooh, that was scary. We come out ahead here. GG's. We danced around this Clarion Conqueror well, but I think it was very easy for this game to go south, even on my opponent's last turn. If they play like some sort of Hushbringer card that is a blocker that also shuts off the Brutal Cathar ability, like that turn is so much scarier for me. I have a 1-lander here that I'm considering. This is a 1-lander that has 2 plays on that one land. They are uncounterable, so I ignore the Force of Wills and Dazes of the world, and then I have game versus combo and game versus control. I think I am willing to risk it with this hand. Like, as much as I just want to have a solid hand that just plays good Magic every single time, I think the upside of this hand is high enough that I am willing to take it. Gavin goes on human, and I think I'm going to put my opponent to the removal test immediately. And my opponent can start collecting clues while I deploy a bunch of 1-drops. Apt Surveil land, that's fine. Come on, land. Negative. Esper Sentinel is the best now. Champion of the Parish is best over time. I think I'm going to go with the best over time play. This is the best over time because the backside of this Planeswalker can become very threatening if my opponent just has a Brainstorm, and I want to be able to pressure it. Thoughtseize is fine. I am not deploying any of these cards right now. The Esper Sentinel is the obvious short-term take. Dark Confidant is the strongest card over time, especially since like it can't be countered and it can't be removed either. And my opponent agrees. Tamiyo will do clue stuff, and then I'll draw a land and everything will be great. Falling turn. I'll draw a land and everything will be great. See? Told you. I think I am going to go Dark Confidant here. Champion is going to start doing champion things. Bowmasters is still a really, really awkward card. We have dodged. Patch at end of turn. Dark Ritual. So are we actually playing against Doomsday? Feels like we are actually playing against Doomsday. In which case I need to do this shit instead. That's land drop 4. And Ponder. Very fast shuffle. Tamiyo does the clue thing. No Doomsday? Maybe Doomsday. Surveil land, that's great. Junking a land. Cracking a clue. That turns Tamiyo into the Planeswalker side, which I might just be taking out in combat. I have 2 damage towards it right now. I all have 3 after I play a human. It will get the last damage if I draw a land and a 1-drop, which I did not. Freebooter or Thalia. I think it's Freebooter. I think I just want to take a Doomsday right now if it is in my opponent's hand. Again, all of this stuff is uncounterable. Trigger. Okay, it is a bunch of counter spells. We'll take that Daze. I'll go to Punchies. So my opponent doesn't get the Ponder back, I'm still going to attack Tamiyo. Always yield to that nonsense. Like, the 3 damage this turn is not the end of the world in terms of my opponent's life total and having it with Doomsday. My opponent could be in sad, hardcast Street Wraith mode. We'll see whether or not they just want to cycle it. Alright, they're not just going to cast it. Alright, Bob. A new Cavern. That is fantastic. Cavern, also on human. 1 and 2. New Freebooter. Trigger the champion. Always yield to that. I will take a Dark Ritual from that. Then I'll pay a life to do a Thalia. Throw champion again. I'll kill Tamiyo. I'll deal 1 to my opponent. And we'll go from there. We have an upkeep fetch. Purely deck thinning at this point. I have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 damage next turn. More if I just do something like play a Night Clubber. I think I will be able to present lethal with Mother of Runes backup. That is Street Wraith. Being hardcast at last. Dark Confidant trigger. Thalia's Lieutenant. Without doing the math, that sure seems like lethal. Yeah, I'm not going to do the math. Trigger. Thalia's Lieutenant. 1 and 2. Triggers. Alright, so where are we at if this is blocked? 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. And my opponent concedes. That was a little lucky, I'm not going to lie to you. That was turn 6. My opponent farted around with a Tamiyo for a little while, but did not actually put something that killed me on the stack. which I am thankful for. Now, I don't have great things here. I can try to surgical to disrupt a Doomsday plot pile. I can try to Deafening Silence to dampen the power of Dark Ritual into Doomsday. That's about the best that I've got. Night Clubber is not particularly good. Vial is pretty slow for this matchup, and I am bringing in 6 other 1-drops. I might just fully cut Vial here. I'm going to keep the Brutal Cathars. They are not that good in theory versus my opponent's deck, but in case they have Goyfs or something as a sideboard juke or Sheoldreds, I think I need to respect it. This opening hand is solid. Opponent keeps on 6 and is not playing anything? No, they are a second main phase hipster. I am into Deafening Silence on turn 1 here, I think, and then I'll just play double creature next turn. In play, that means Ritual into Doomsday or Lotus Petal into Doomsday is not live. Land drop 2. Everything is going according to plan. Freebooter is great. I will probably just do that over play multiple creatures here. Like, I really want to get Champion down as soon as possible, but I have so much late game power with Thalia's Lieutenant here that this is probably just fine. We've resolved Fatal Push and Doomsday. And Goyf. That's very awkward because this is until this leaves the battlefield. So I'm really taking Fatal Push either way. I guess I will force them to cast it. There's a fetch, presumably a blue-black Surveil land into Fatal Push. LED goes away, and so does my Freebooter, meaning my opponent gets the Doomsday back. And then we'll see whether they are just going to jam Doomsday immediately or if they are going to do a Goyf first as a distraction. They are going for the win. Opponent is at 9. That's a Thalia. That's the best piece of interaction that I currently have. So, am I trying to draw an extra card? I don't think so if I'm going to play Thalia because I can't, like, surgical for free. So I think I throw down a champion and then play uncounterable Thalia. If my opponent dazes, I can't pay for this. They did not. Uncounterable Thalia. I don't know that this actually matters. There's a very good chance that my opponent's pile is just a bunch of Edge of Autumn type stuff and Street Wraiths that aren't actually going to be impacted by Thalia. Because my opponent was already trying to beat Deafening Silence. Yeah, so there's Street Wraith. There's Street Wraith. There's Oracle. That'll do. I am more or less happy with how I have sideboarded here. Again, we still do have some outs to a Goyf. This doesn't do anything. This is fine, though. I throw back 1 Rebooter, and then I just decide whether or not I'm playing Esper Sentinel or Champion on 1. I think it's probably Champion here, because I can disrupt for multiple turns in a row. It could even be keep triple Freebooter. It could even be keep triple Freebooter, in case my opponent has some removal. Let's get that scrub, and throw down the Champion. Underground Sea, and pass the turn. Well, we have 4 of a kind. I don't think my opponent can beat that poker hand. We've got a Brainstorm in response. So an Esper Sentinel would have drawn a card here. I think the Champion is important. Like, at the end of the day, I do need to reduce my opponent's life total to 0, and they are probably going to do us the favor of having their life total. So if I get this down early and then just like disrupt from hand, this should carry me. Are we resolving? Your good card can now be on top of library. It's probably okay to let this resolve, but it does represent some damage, which might not be okay. If I draw another land, I can snap off a Wasteland on this Underground Sea, but I just can't do that yet. I have triple Kitesail Freebooter that I need to be casting. New Underground Sea, Petal, is it Doomsday O'Clock? It is. My opponent can potentially just build a pile that beats my onboard Wasteland, and they're going to have a decent life total. I don't think I'm going to aggro them down and get them outside of range of Street Wraith. Alright, my opponent went into the tank. They've made their pile. Let's see if we win or lose. I'm going to have very little control in that. The best timeline is probably one where I draw a second Wasteland this turn and I double Wasteland Underground Seas. That did not happen. My opponent has seen this wasteland coming from a mile away. I think if I do that, I'm not likely enough to win. I'm going to try Kitesail Freebooter and hope that I take a relevant card from their hand. Like maybe there is, I don't know, already an Edge of Autumn there and I snipe that or something. Let's see what's going on. Bitter Triumph, that's the removal spell? Okay, I mean, I'll take a Fatal Push, I guess. Send in for 2. 6. It is a Brainstorm. A new land? Fetching. And Thassa's Oracle. It is unfortunately not good enough. There's one unknown card there. If that unknown card is a Lotus Petal, then they just beat me through the known wasteland anyway. GG's. Running hand is not good enough here. I just don't have enough mana. This is fine. I'll get rid of the Night Clubber, which I have not been impressed with. We haven't seen this like just clearing out a bunch of elves or bowmasters or anything like that yet. Card goes on top. Okay. Cavern on Human. We're going to drop a Vial. The Nightmare timeline is days into Wasteland Cavern of Souls. Part 1 of Nightmare timeline? Okay, cool. This is just a bad timeline. It's not the worst timeline. Underground Sea and Tamiyo. I'd love to draw a land this turn. Nice. Am I fine wastelanding? I think I'm fine wastelanding. It shuts off days on this Vial. Vial is in play. I have a very powerful couple of turns with Vial. My opponent can accumulate some clues. Hopefully that doesn't end up mattering too much. Ooh. So that I just go ahead and cast uncounterably. And if my opponent uses a removal spell on it, I have Mom coming. If they like go for a Bowmasters, I Mom in response. Bam. I imagine I lose the Thalia's Lieutenant here. I could be wrong depending on the contents of my opponent's hand, but Thalia's Lieutenant is very clearly the best card from my point of view. Fetch land. Make a clue. And we've got the Brainstorm, which is not actually all that bad for me. I will get to chunk some damage on that Tamiyo with a Champion of the Parish. If I draw a land, it's a lot of damage. I drew a land. Nice. Human. So there is a Freebooter. Scale up Champion. We've got Reanimate with no real targets. Force of Will doesn't matter. Thoughtseize doesn't matter. I will take Reanimate first. I could Draw Step hit my opponent. I can hit Tamiyo for 2, or I can hit Tamiyo for 3. 2's fine. No, I'm a liar. I'm gonna just change this math. I'll take the Thoughtseize. I think the clue tokens being there just mean that I want to hit Tamiyo as hard as possible. That is a Brainstorm. That would have messed with me anyway if I went for the Draw Step. There is a land drop. There's a Murktide Regent. My opponent has a Force of Will. Aether Vial, I suppose, goes to 3 because I can't cast the 3-drops, and I can cast the 2-drops, even though I have more 2-drops. Okay, cool. So, play Champion, trigger, go, pro blue here, go to combat, finish off Tamiyo. There is a 1-turn window where my opponent could remove my stuff, and then afterwards, I'm good. I imagine my opponent will crack a clue if they don't have something else reasonable to do. It happens, and it happens again. My opponent cracks me for 7. I'll take that this time, and then I'll decide whether or not I am the beatdown. You'll always no to that. Caracas. So I hit for 5, 6, 7, 8, maybe 9. I think I will hold back with Mom. Send that, and send that. And then fog the Murktide attack. That is a Reanimate on a Tamiyo. Yes. That's no attack. At end of turn, I will bounce that. Cool. And Esper Sentinel, that's fine. Scales up Champion of the Parish. Always yield to those. We fine going for just getting in there. I can give Pro Blue and hit my opponent for 6 and then swing lethal next turn. I don't hate it. Blue. Send it. I could go for lethal there. With the go wide attack. I think the go wide attack is just safer next turn though. Fantastic. Alright, I want 4 copies to 4 swords, please. The rest of this stuff is medium. I can decide how much I want to gun for the reanimator side of the deck. The answer is I should probably gun for it at least this much. Might do this much. I think I'm going to go Nightclubber out, despite the fact that my opponent can have Bowmasters. I think if I'm going to bring in a bunch of cheap spells, my Thalias start making less sense. Then it starts getting harder from here. I'm thinking about cutting some Vials. Thinking about cutting Vials or Esper Sentinels. I think I'm going to go Esper Sentinel. I've got a tough one now. I have 3 castable cards on 1 land, and a Hate Bear for the matchup, and a source of card advantage. But I'm only like a 20 land deck. I think I'm going to keep it. I think I am willing to accept that risk. I think this deck rewards you a bit for taking the chances. Alright, that was a very fast response. Opponent does not like this. Consign to memory. You've got it. But now I just get another draw at a land. Yes. I'm into Containment Priest, I think. That just hedges against the worst case scenario. 3rd land drop. Ow. That is a daze. Sure. Greatness at any cost. I am at 15 from my own cards. 4th land drop. Cameo. I have a swords for that. Assuming things go my way here. Alright. Attempt swords. Swords works. Attempt attack. Attack works. Esper Sentinel. I'm at 12. Uh-huh. You've got it. There's a 4-turn clock. Less, actually. Probably significantly less. But my spells have been resolving. That's the good news here. Okay, that is a small Murktide Regent, but a small Murktide Regent is still significantly scary on this board. Alright. Swords the 5/5. I don't think I get to play another Dark Confidant. I am wondering if I even get to play this Mother of Runes. I think I do. It sure is close, though. I'm not going to be wastelanding my opponent. I just need this. Alright. Opponent has Hardcast Force of Will mana available. I have an answer to this Brazen Borrower. I would really like to have a good Dark Confidant turn, though. Okay. Goodbye. Ooh. I think I lose to that. Yeah, I can kill myself to remove one of the 2 creatures. Let's see if there is something I am not thinking of. It is not that. Yeah, I just did too much damage to myself there. Like, I had all the resources in the world, but double Silent Clearing was disastrous. I win that one if these are Scrublands, and it's not close. But the Silent Clearings have bailed me out of other games. This is fine. This is very aggressive. Counterspells will be good against me. I will have some things that can help against Reanimator a little bit later on. And I can't be wastelanded immediately. And I can potentially just wasteland my opponent's first land if they play a non-basic. Love that that resolve that is fantastic for me. Basic island from my opponent. Play around days? I think I am okay playing around days here. I'm just getting another one of these into play. Opponent says no to this one. I kind of thought that they might have a Force of Will based on how they paused previously. It was correct. 18. That is a Wasteland target. I will Wasteland immediately. It sucks if this is Brazen Borrower. Or not Brazen Borrower, Orcish Bowmasters. That is blue mana. Let's play around Days again. Because Hardcast Days is live. So let's do this here. Scale this up. Go to Punchies. Opponent could Fog with Brazen Borrower. Oh. Sure. It's still first main. I am willing to yeet this into a Daze if you want to return a land to hand. Yeah, that's totally fine. Now this stuff is more likely to resolve. That's great. Opponent has no lands in play. I have a 2/2 and 2 lands. I am good with this. Engineered Explosives. Sure. It is time for the general. We've already baited that Daze out of hand. Unless there's another. But if there's another, Careful study. Sure. Champion is not dealing as much damage as I would like it to. Oh, opponent does not have the next land. That is nice for me. I'm gonna silent clearing draw now. It is another silent clearing. Cavern on human. Throw down Thalia's lieutenant. Scale up the creatures. Bash in for 4. If my opponent draws the land, I lose the champion. The Thalia's lieutenant hopefully scales up from there. Wasteland is fine. I have 5 damage. I can maybe get more damage out of this turn. Let's just immediately take the redraw. Surgical Extraction is okay. I don't think I play that out because of the EE on 1 that my opponent is very, very, very much going to want to crack. Okay. Alright, so opponent is just passing the turn with the mana available to get rid of champion. Cool. Oh, I should have taken the silent clearing redraw pre-combat. Sometimes I find a creature that grows Thalia's lieutenant that I can play out. If I get punished for that. I don't. Would not have played that out. We'll play Vial around Days, and then do Uncounterable Mother of Runes that grows Thalia's lieutenant. Opponent does not have the mana to Entomb plus Reanimate. I have Brutal Cathar, Uncounterably, or something like a Goyf that is played out. That I just bounce out of the way. I have Lethal. That'll do. Now, just about anything in my entire deck is lethal, minus another Aether Vial or Surgical Extraction. It is another Surgical Extraction. I'm thinking about using a Surgical Extraction to just see if there is a removal spell in my opponent's hand. I think that is worth it. I'm going to extract EE. Alright, there is a Goyf over there and a Force of Will. I guess I should take a picture of this. Alright, cool. I've got it. So, with no removal spell over there, I am fine going pro blue and putting my opponent to 1. Opponent does not have lands, so they can't top deck both land and removal spell here unless they do some careful study nonsense. They would, okay, yeah, same overall philosophy there. This is not good enough. Cameo on the backside and reduce my power by 1. That's not doing it here. And there is the concession. Is that our second win now? Yeah, we're 2-2 with this. This is going fine. This is a fine hand as long as my Cavern of Souls does not get wastelanded. It is just so much damage over time, spread over a bunch of bodies. It doesn't have the 1-drop that I might want, but is otherwise fine. I think it's freebooter into 3x Lieutenant. Ooh, very nice. Human. And we freeboot trigger, and then we'll see what my opponent is doing. They might just brainstorm in response. They might kill this in response. Okay. They did not kill it in response. I mean, I guess that means that I'm taking your swords to plowshares, that you don't get your immediate value. Wastelanding this opponent will be good. Might end up wastelanding them on my draw step. I don't know. The wasteland becomes a lot less good when they have Life from the Loam right there, though. Might just jam Adeline. Like, I know Adeline is uncounterable. It's just throwing things into the graveyard. That was one of these Misties. Yeah, let's just jam Adeline and then double Thalia's Lieutenant next turn. I'm not going to math that out, but that sure feels like dead. Adeline, punchies, Adeline trigger. Yeah. There's the Flooded Strand into Trop. My opponent might just go Uro here. Yeah, so they're just going to go Uro. And that probably means that Leyline Binding is not available. Opponent is still missing black and red, if they even have both colors. There's black and a Ponder. Yeah, again, not gonna math it, but this is a shit ton of damage. So, bam. White and 1. Thalia's Lieutenant. Counters on everybody. White and 1. Thalia's Lieutenants. Counters on everybody. Let's just always yield to that. Yeah. And then Adeline was going to make more creatures and triggers the Thalia's Lieutenants again on attack. Opponent had a perfectly reasonable hand. I wonder if it was correct for them to not Uro and just do like a 3-mana Leyline Binding, take out Adeline, stem the bleeding. I know my hand was extreme there, but even without though, like Thalia's Lieutenant specifically, if I just play a couple of creatures, I am attacking for a ton of damage. I probably want some amount of this stuff in respect of Uro. I think I have sideboarded out Nightclubber in just about every round. I can potentially go down on Aether Vial. My opponent is just going to be good at answering that via Leyline Binding and Friends. I don't know if I can cut all of them. 20 is pretty landlight. I cut 2, that gets me to this, but I might want to play some Cathar Commandos as just another aggressive creature that can happen to answer up the Beanstalks and Leyline Bindings. Alright, I have convinced myself, and we'll just like go down a Thalia to round things out. Alright, my hand is a keep. After I've boarded out vials, I just basically want to keep something that has about 2 lands, and this meets that quota. So we will Cavern on Human, play Mom uncounterably, and I'm going to remove this stop that I set. I'm not going to be using that. Patching, getting the Xander's Lounge. So now with a tropical island or tundra, my opponent's Leyline Bindings will be good to go. It is Bowmasters. You've got it. I can Swords that at some point. I don't know that it needs to happen immediately. I think I am into Freebooter this turn. And then I play another Freebooter and Mom, or Mom and Thalia's Lieutenant next turn. Yeah, I will take the Teferi. But unfortunately, my opponent has another Bowmasters, making some of this stuff just worse. I know that my opponent has the other Bowmaster, so I will not be blocking here. I am at 18. So, let's go ahead and play a new Freebooter, I suppose. Take a Force of Will temporarily. This Freebooter can go ahead and attack, and we will have a Swords available. I would probably just Swords and Uro if my opponent casts one, but the mana is not lining up for my opponent to do that. This is where I wish I had a Surveil land in the deck. I could block this. My opponent casts Bowmasters, and then I go for a Swords on the thing that I have blocked, and just kind of pave the way for these to be better. I am into it. Alright, so that resolves things here. Then I will fetch. I will just go for the Scrub in case I get Wastelanded. I still have both of my colors. And I will Swords this Bowmasters. That gets me a Force of Will and an Uro. Hell yeah. Like, you can have that Force of Will, but then I get to deploy these cards safely. This is great. A Thalia. Do I want the Mom to have the bonus counter? Or do I want the Thalia's Lieutenant to have the bonus counter? I think I want this to get the bonus counter. It's pretty close. So, bam, trigger. I believe I am pretty clearly the beatdown, even though my opponent might push my life total to be lower than theirs in the short term. There is a land drop. Hardcast Force of Will is online. That doesn't actually matter that much. Oh shit. That's very good. Uncounterable, white, black 1. There's the general. So let's start eating instants and sorceries from the yard in respect of things that look like Murktide Regent. I think this is the point where I have probably just objectively won this one. I have great offense, I have great defense, I have graveyard hate. If my opponent plays a creature, they can't back it up with Force of Will. I have a window to Swords to Plowshares it. This has gone very, very, very well. Hot damn, and that is a match win, and we put up a positive record with humans. Way to go, Brazil deck list. Alright, that was a lot of fun. Overall thoughts on the deck list? Thumbs up. I mean, I think we have a glaring weakness to Orcish Bowmasters. Other than that, I think things are good. I would cut the Nightclubbers from the deck. Like, despite the fact that Orcish Bowmasters is very, very, very good against what we are doing here, I think this just comes down too slow in a lot of matchups. I'm not going to look up the name of it, but there is a human lord that gives your other humans something like +1/+0 and ward. I might be tempted to play a couple of those and just round out the aggressive early game here. I am unsure how I feel about Silent Clearing. I don't know whether or not that's better or worse than Scrubland, which is kind of a wild thing to say. The downside with Dark Confidant is real, but a lot of times you don't need that much mana, and so once you start hitting your third or fourth land drop, you just kind of have nothing to do with it in a lot of cases, so getting to cycle that is real. I think the deck building here is pretty good. I think there's a little wiggle room. You could go up on Scrublands. If you played a 21st land, it could be a Surveil land, but there are only 3 fetch lands in the deck, so maybe the Surveil land is even not good. Maybe you just can't have an ETB tapped land in this aggro deck. Like, maybe it legitimately is too low to the ground most of the time for that to make sense. I don't know that this one is going to be out there crushing tournaments or anything, but this absolutely felt solid. Sightsail Freebooter was a little awkward. Sometimes it was very, very good, but other times it just like missed appropriate cards, or our opponent just had the removal for it immediately, making it not as good as something that just fully takes the card forever. But overall, I think this was good deck building. I liked the things that were in the sideboard. I'm going to give this one my seal of approval here. Alright folks, I hope you all have a wonderful rest of the day. If you need some cards, you know where to go. And if you have any thoughts about cool humans to stick in the deck, or you remember the name of that 2-drop human that I'm not going to look up, throw it in the comments. Alright, have a great day. See ya!